Today's conversation is going to be super critical to PG County residents. Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of Elevate PGC. This is where real voices in the community are able to get heard. Today, I have a special guest with me. We are joined by Taylor Frazier. She is one of the lead organizers behind the resident-led campaign opposing the Landover Data Center project. Now, just in a few days, about 14,000 residents signed a petition saying, hey, we don't want this data center. And then thousands more rallied online and showed up in person to be heard. And at the center of it all was Taylor, doing the work, starting the initiative, and giving people the tools to really fight back. So today, we're talking about how all of this happened and what it means for the future of our communities and why this moment matters more than ever. Taylor, thank you so much for being here. Who are you? What do you do? And are you affiliated with any organizations that we should be aware of?
My name is Taylor Frazier, and I'm a community advocate and resident of Landover. I'm currently not directly affiliated with any organizations. I started the petition independently. I was approached by the Party for Socialism and Liberation to help promote and spread awareness about the petition because they are also anti-data center. I'm hoping to become a member of PSL. I'm also looking forward to joining other community activism organizations that are already established. So I have been involved with community activism for a very long time. I participated with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation in Baltimore City Bay area watershed cleanup, as well as Delmarva area watershed cleanups. I've been participating in activism activities for a very long time, and I hope to continue that and kind of turn it into a career now.
How long have you been a resident of Prince George's County, Taylor?
I've been a resident of Prince George's County for over 20 years. I'm in Palmer Park, in Landover, specifically District 5.
Tell me a little bit about how this Landover Data Center project first came across your radar.
One of my best friends, she's heavy into keeping up with the news and politics and stuff. And she let me know that the data center was coming this year when the article was published. I don't know if the article was previously published. And because data centers are just on the rise on our radar as a whole in the country, that's when it came onto her radar. So once she let me know, I started to do more research on it to find out they were trying to break ground as soon as next year. And I was like, well, let me start a petition on Change.org to see if I can at least slow down the process. I really have hopes to stop it from being built completely.
What was a specific moment for you where you realized that something like this was a problem? Why was this a issue for you?
I watched a documentary on YouTube from A More Perfect Union, and they have a video where they're talking about the data center in Georgia and the effects of that Facebook Meta data center that they've placed near the residential area in that part of Georgia. And they were showing the sediment in their water, the low water pressure that they're experiencing, and the light pollution that's coming through their windows where they have to put blackout curtains up, and even those don't block the light completely from entering into their residence. So that was the defining moment when I saw that documentary. As I was doing my research, I was just like, no, this is going to directly impact me, my granddad, my mom, everybody that lives in Palmer Park, because we're in close proximity to this data center. And then the people in Maple Ridge will be even more so affected by the light pollution because they're right across the street. So I just was like, no one knows about this. I know no one knows about this. So I wanted to spread the word.
I, too, am a native DMV resident, born in D.C., raised in Maryland majority of my life. Spent an intricate part of my adolescence in Virginia, came back to PG County, just recently spent about 6 years in Anne Arundel County, moved back. I've been back in PG County for about 3 months. I'm in District 5, so I'm right over there by what we used to call Largo, which is now Glenarden or Lanham, depending on which street you're on. It was a shock to my system to come back and see PG County in the condition that it was in. And then the data center, friend sent your video to me, and we too did some of the research as well. And so I didn't assume how this data got approved. But as I did my research, I was noticing that a lot of people felt like this was being quietly pushed forward in the community without any community input. And I was able to uncover that the previous administration of Alsobrook back in 2024 was the administration that pushed this forward silently in order to fast tracked it because they thought that it was going to generate revenue for the community. Now, that's what I was able to uncover.
The administration or the county executive and the county council previously to the people that have been elected now. So many of those that are on the board now were not elected officials. Some were, of course, but they fast-tracked the bill to basically give data centers the ability to be built without conceptual site plans, without detailed site plans, and without like going through those same parameters that smaller businesses or other businesses may have had to go through previously in the county. And then I found out that the planning board had actually approved the data center back in March of 2024. So you literally have 30 days from that time to get a court order or a legal process kind of going to stop that data center from being built. So I'm not saying that we're in the weeds completely, but we have kind of critical marks that have been missed in the opportunity to stop the data center legally. So now what our options are is to have the county council create legislation, as Wala Belegay said the other day, that she would do something to slow down the process of data centers coming, or present legislation to slow down the process of data centers coming. So I do appreciate that effort, but I think it's going to take a little more than just that, because if we just slow it down, that doesn't mean that we're saying no. And my position is, at least on hyperscale data centers, no. We have small data centers currently in Prince George's County, but I don't want to see them on this hyperscale brought to the county.
Does this mean that there is no way to stop this massive data center that's coming to Landover? Do we still have time to potentially reroute this somewhere else, or does this mean that it's actually going to push forward?
No, I don't think it means that it's going to push forward. I think that once that legislation is put in place to slow down the process, to kind of repeal some of the things that were put forward, I think that we will be in a better position than we are currently at this moment. I think that it is going to take some legislative redirection to help stop the data center in Landover. And I'm very confident that Shayla Adams Stafford, the District 5 councilwoman that was newly elected just in June, is going to be on our side and going to push our agenda to the council. I am hopeful that the task force will take into consideration the outpouring of support that we've had for the petition and change their possible recommendations to the county council. So those are some of the things that I'm looking forward to in continuing this movement, because it is not going to be an easy process. It's not like they can just say, okay, piece of paperwork, we've changed it, no data center. It has to be some legal things that we have to go through. And I think that we will get through those things.
Why do you think that so many PG County residents showed up this time? And what do you think was the contributing factor to the 14,000 signatures that have signed your petition up until this point, and how we were able to fill the room to full capacity, even have an overflow room on a rainy Tuesday afternoon?
I think that it's really about the state of the union, the state of us as a country. I think that is why people are empowered to sign this petition and to stop this data center. They're seeing the media about the negative impacts of data centers in the world, and in other places in America. So we want to come together, and we are united. And I think that my video did help to kind of like push the agenda. Of course, who saw that video did help as well. So I definitely want to thank PSLDC, because without their followers, we wouldn't have got that initial robust promotion of the reel. So I think that helped a lot. And I think that, like I said, just the overall state of where we are as a country is really pushing people to want to speak up and have a voice.
So moving forward, what tools or partnerships or strategies do you feel would help to continue to amplify this movement?
Definitely more resident participation. I know we can't see exactly on the signatures who is specifically from Landover that signed and who isn't, but I'm very thankful for all of the Landover community that actually took the time to participate. I would like to see the Landover community coming out to our community events. We're going to be doing something, PSL and myself, on September the 14th at 2 p.m. at the Keller Williams building in Largo, Maryland. Keller Williams Preferred in Largo, Maryland. And that's going to be a big event to get people out and get their opinions heard. So we will be taking feedback. We will be asking you for your opinion at this meeting. We want to know what you want to see at the Landover Mall site in place of a data center. So I feel that this is a great opportunity for everyone to have their voice be heard, or at least have input. We know that democracy is a process that involves everyone, and we don't want anyone left behind. We want young people, We want old people. We want, whoever is old enough to vote, even if you're not old enough to vote. I feel like the young people 18 and under do have some potential to impact this movement because they're going to be able to vote soon enough, and we want to make sure that when it is time for them to vote, they know about the process, that they can be active and that they can participate from an informed perspective.
Recently, again, when I came back, I found out that the Commanders are moving back to DC. Six Flags recently closed. The USDA is leaving Beltsville. The FBI moved to PG County. That was killed. These losses really do mean hundreds of millions in commercial revenue gone out of the county. We can't sustain this county with the way that we're going. So this isn't politics. This is just basic economics. What's your take on how we should be thinking about land use, commercial growth inside of Prince George's County?
I believe that we need to approach everything from a future forward standpoint. And when I say that, I mean like thinking about the future and the implications that things will have in the future. As I talked about in my speech the other day, Westinghouse Electric was putting pollutants into stream water that fed the Anacostia, Lower Beaver Dam Creek, for years from 1950, 1970s. So that is we are still trying to reverse the effects of that pollution to this day. So if we're going to be building and we have commercial space, let's make these places have the highest level of standards. Let's make sure that if we're bringing something like a data center to the community, that it's going to have what's known as a power usage efficiency of 1. And what that means is basically like how much energy is used for the data center is required is very low. So we want something that would basically be carbon neutral, like it wouldn't have all these implications and health impacts if that has to be done. I know that the revenue needs to be made, so I get that. But I'm saying do it from an eco-friendly and an environmentally conscious point of view, and not so much grabbing for a dollar, because when data centers are being built in other places in the world, they are using different technologies. They are making sure that they're up to these PV standards of 1. They are not having data centers that are polluting next door to residents. Even in other countries, they have underwater data centers. I don't know the implications of that on the environment, of course, because if that water is going back into the ocean, it may not be as beneficial or healthy for the planet. But what I'm thinking is that we look for development or developers that want to come and can give us future forward jobs. A lot of jobs are being phased out due to AI technologies and increases in automation. So we need job and readiness in the county that's going to give us careers of the future and not of the past. So that's what I would like to see. I really would like to see future developments be eco-friendly and environmentally conscious, and us to move in a direction that gets the county where it needs to be financially without hurting the environment or hurting our citizens.
All of those things can exist at the same time. I love a 2 birds, 1 stone, 3 birds, 1 stone, right? We have to serve the residents that live here. For a county that has 1 million people living in it, with the average medium income of $91,000 a year, which is three times the national average of, yearly income that's coming in. We have some of the highest taxes. I wonder sometimes where the actual revenue is going. I see the conditions of the road. I'm seeing the overgrown, trees that really are blocking residents from being able to drive or pull out safely in some of these corners or walk down the sidewalk safely because of the overgrown trees. I'm seeing a lack of development in businesses. One of my kids, they play sports. We needed to pick her up some elbow pads. In order to find what I needed, I'm either going to travel back to Anne Arundel County or I'm going to now travel to Virginia. To eat healthy has been a challenge since moving back. There's no, salad businesses or juicing businesses. And if I really want to eat healthy, I have to go to Wegmans and pray to God that they have a green goddess drink. I find myself traveling everywhere else but PG County. We have the income and the revenue. People are spending the money. We're just spending it in DC, Virginia, another county. What do we need to do? If you could develop PG County the way that you would like to see it, what does the county need to do to recoup the revenue that's being lost and going outside of our county so we don't have to make some of these shady deals just to get that revenue? What does it look like?
I think that it looks like you say, bringing those businesses to the county. I think it looks like a lot of mental health initiatives. I really feel that if we start at the root cause at the home with these residents that are dealing with other issues like poverty and crime, things that are deterrents of businesses from coming to the county. I know that Central County has a lot of issues with our crime rate. I've looked it up. It's one of the highest in the areas in Landover, and it's unfortunate. But if we go into the home and we bring more resources to parents, if we bring more resources to young children and youth, now they won't be out stealing cars because they'll have a program for them. The county has only allotted $1 million to their youth employment initiative or program for the youth. That's not enough. We need more than $1 million because, like you said, this is a million population county. So $1 million is going to go just like that. And we know inflation and everything else. These kids deserve to be able to have a place to work over the summer and bring some money in so that they're not out committing crimes and doing things that are negative for their communities. We have mental health services in Prince George's County currently, but I think that more adequate and appropriate services would be better use of the resources. Something similar to what they've done in Baltimore, where they're working one-on-one with individuals, getting them like mentors and life coaches. They're helping them with a stipend every week so they don't have to worry about where their next meal is going to come from or how they're going to buy groceries or toiletries. Sometimes when you're in a place where you don't have the facilities to live, you're homeless. That's not focused on enough in the county. So I would like to see that focused on.
I realize that we have a hospital. Now I hear that it might not be the best hospital, even though it's new, fairly new.
And they just moved it. They didn't add new staff. They just took the same problem and put it in a new building.
I haven't had to experience needing the services of that hospital myself, but from lamenting to my loved ones since I've moved back to PG County, that's what I'm hearing, that the hospital isn't that great. But my logic as a strategic business strategist, you have a hospital and a stadium right up the street. Around the corner, you have a huge empty lot. And as you travel up 202 Central Avenue, you have a lot of resident homes. You have a few shopping centers, but a short drive, you have PG County Community College, Largo High School. You have a private school, you have smaller schools, charter schools, other private schools. What I noticed that we don't have any athletic sports facilities. So that way our youth does have something to do. I mean, most of our kids are in some type of sports. They're playing football, basketball, soccer, baseball. I don't know what the sports and learning complex is doing these days, but the last time I was in it, it just wasn't big enough. It wasn't really providing in the performance training that we need for our youth. And there is a sports facility in Virginia called St. James.
Yes.
It is huge and massive, and like that not only helps the youth, but also creates jobs and creates a future for our youth where now they can go on and achieve their sports dreams and maybe give back to the community. But that's all within this same, radius. What's going to happen to the stadium now? It makes sense to me to pour more into that and build additional businesses around that, promote health, healthy eating, some gardens, growing fresh vegetables for the community. I don't see community living now that I've been back. Businesses that have set up shop in PG County saying yes because you're going to give us some type of revenue for the land. That's what I see.
No. You're right. And that's what Shayla Adams had touched on that yesterday as well, about Landover Mall previously being a space for us to have community, for us to come together, for us to gather. I remember when I was a child, a radio station would have costume contests at Landover Mall during Halloween time. So, I've several times participated in their costume contests growing up because that was a part of our fun around Halloween time. You could trick or treat at the mall also at Halloween. So there was a space for people to gather and have community. And I think that with a lot of the issues around kind of crime and things like that, they decided not to do a closed mall again when they built the Capitol Center at the Boulevard. They went with open air thinking that would prevent people from hanging out and gathering, but it really didn't do that. You can't stop from what their desires are, and people need a space to gather. So I'm with you on board of the sports learning complex is not enough. I would like to see something like a St. James. It's really a nice experience. The sports learning pool is a little bigger than their pool, but at the same time, it's just like the concept. Will we be able to get memberships at the St. James and afford them? Yes, because like you said, the median income in the county is $91,000. So we are not lacking the funds What we're lacking is the thought process that we can handle having it in our community. If we're concerned, we have to start with the mental health piece. We have to train a better workforce. Customer service in the county is not always its best. And I don't know exactly where that culture came from. A Chick-fil-A, it should be the top of the line no matter where you go. But I've gone to the Chick-fil-A at Capitol Boulevard and gotten the coldest, nastiest fries in my life, And it's like, why did I just pay for this? Like, they're missing that customer service piece at a lot of these businesses that come to the county. And I don't think it's on the fault of the residents necessarily. I think it's up to the members of the political process to increase the funding for things that would educate the general population and make them better employees, better customers, better everything.
How can you be excited about your job or life when the community hasn't created an environment for you to be proud of? I'm going to be completely honest. I am not proud to live in PG County right now. Not with the way that the roads look, not with the customer service, not with the lack of development that we have, but our schools are ranking very, very low again for the income that's coming into the county. It just doesn't match what the output is. And that is the reason why I left. I left because the schools were not serving my children and private school was the route that we had to go. I understand that many people cannot afford to put their kids in private school. So what happens to those residents? I have tons of friends who have left the area just because of the school system. I have friends who are developers that will not develop in certain areas because they know that the property won't sell because of the school system. I know that it may take a long time to overhaul every single school that we have here. Can we supplement the education in some form of fashion? Can we create more learning centers? And then can we give grants or scholarships for business owners to bring their business here? And maybe, like you said, some type of stipend or something to families where they're able to afford it. I don't know. I'm not the logistical person. What I do know is business. I know why people buy. I know why people will stay in a community and why people move from a community. When I came back, these were some of the things that I noticed. And I said, how can you be excited? How can you be proud? Even if you do just have a first-time job at Chick-fil-A, how can you do that when the community hasn't poured into you? They haven't given you anything to do.
Exactly.
It feels as if we've been lacking a visionary, for the county. And I'm unsure if we currently have that right now with some of the council members. I'm not well versed in all of the council members. I've been doing my due diligence. From what I can see, many of them seem very passionate. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of residents feel as if we still have a lot of corruption and the money just isn't being poured back into the county. I have no evidence to back that statement up. And because I'm just moving back, I don't know how accurate it is or not.
Well, we're definitely concerned about revenue, but what we have realized is that a lot of the revenue that we think, where does that money go, goes to a general fund in the state and doesn't go directly to like Prince George's County or directly to our tax dollars. Like a lot of people voted in favor of the casino, MGM. They wanted the casino in Prince George's County. We got the casino in Prince George's County. That's great. But if you follow the tax dollars and the revenue, it's not coming back directly into Prince George's County. That it goes into like a state fund and doesn't come directly back to the county. So the same thing would go with like cannabis taxes. We voted to bring cannabis to Maryland as a state. And I'm like, okay, well, those revenues are going to go to education. That's great. So that means that Prince George's County is going to get this influx of money for education. But it doesn't work exactly like that. Like the money doesn't just go directly to the Board of Education to say, here's a check for $1 million, put that on something, for the kids. So I think that we need to change the processes of how these tax dollars are being moved when they are moving down the financial ladder, because sometimes we're getting like the short end of the stick with it.
We have to stay advocates for our county, for our districts, but are we saying this conversation needs to be taken and we need to widen it? Is this a conversation where Governor Westmore needs to be involved in this conversation about what's happening to PG County? Because
I would like to, yes. I know that one of the people I follow on Instagram was able to speak with Governor Westmore the other day and ask about the data center specifically. So that was great. Her Instagram was like Booker Squared. But she was able to speak with him and ask about the data centers. Now, what happened was that Larry Hogan and his administration put a law in place making it so that data centers don't have to pay the 6% sales and use tax that is required by the state of Maryland when you have a business. So I'm finding it that it's more than just a Prince George's County issue. It's a issue with the whole state and how we were open for business under Larry Hogan. Business was his focus and not people. So he was putting, again, profits over people. And I don't think that's fair to do that. I think it's logical to say, okay, what can we do to create a balanced budget or a balanced situation where we're not going to harm the community and we're going to bring in the money that we need. And I know that those two things don't, like you said, always go hand in hand. But if we can find the best way to move forward, I think that's better than just throwing a data center in Landover just because we need some money.
I found it very difficult to get the information that I need. God blessed me with this in my mail, right? And I read it through, as you can see. And, off the topic just a little bit, also saw in here that they have only a $800,000 for litter cleanup. And that explained why there was so much litter that I was seeing all over the place. But nevertheless, this was helpful. So kudos to Prince George's County for sending this out. I hope everyone received it. I went onto the website. I'm doing my part as a citizen. It's not user friendly. It has outdated information on it. The links sometimes are not working or doesn't take you to where you need to be. It's almost like the website needs to be completely overhauled. So then I started stalking all the council members on social media, and even still, I want to be honest here. It feels like a lot of photo ops, but the information to the people, it seems hard to get. And I don't know if that's on purpose, the lack of transparency, or again, is this down in systems and operations where maybe the county needs more people to get involved. I don't know what that answer is, and maybe you can shed some light there, but it feels difficult to get the information. How does your average resident stay in touch with what's happening?
Definitely go to your council member's website, sign up for those newsletters. Most council persons have a newsletter that's sent out either on a weekly or a monthly basis so that you can kind of stay in the loop with what is going on as far as the events and activities. Definitely try to check out Prince George's County Public Television when you can, because they do a lot of local stories and local news that's really good for residents to observe and pay attention to. Personally, I like to read different news outlets, not just your regular standard Washington Post type outlet, but looking for those gazettes, informers, observers, the local newspapers. They do put a lot of information in there. Following certain people on social media as well. Like you said, you've been following them and stalking them online. Actually go to their pages and see what they have to say. See what their stance is, what their position is. When I first started calling Shayla Adams' office back in June, her chief of staff's position was kind of just we have not made a position on data centers yet. We will reach out to you. We'll get back to you. And I will say they had follow through. I stayed on them and they were able to follow through with me. They didn't just say, okay, well, she's calling, we'll just let her keep calling, So I do appreciate how responsive her office has been and how she has kind of picked up the lead with this fight as far as the legislation goes. So I'm very excited to see what we have coming from Shayla in the future. So definitely follow her for more information. And then just make sure to vote in these midterm elections. Don't skip out on the 2-year election cycle, because that's how a lot of these people get elected. People aren't paying attention. They're not voting when it's county council time, and they miss out on the opportunity to say who gets to sit in that seat.
Absolutely. I agree. 100%, right? Check out social media, sign up for the newsletter. I will find the link to post so that way you guys can sign up for the newsletter. All of them, they do have their emails listed. And I have this as well. So we'll make sure that, we post this for the community so that way they can get in contact with their actual district council member as well for wherever they're living. Staying involved is going to be critical. Being a part of that voting process is going to be critical. Showing up for the meetings, if you can, is going to be critical. And look, I get it. We're all busy. We all can get discouraged at times. We all can feel as if our voices are unheard. But if you never voice your opinion, how would you know? So don't take on the model of your friends or family members that just say, look, I don't think that my voice is going to make an impact. Taylor so graciously said, hey, I'm going to speak up, right? She did, and recorded it in a video. It went viral and it reached the people that it needed to reach because it came on my radar. And not only was I able to sign a petition, I donated, and I was able to show up for the meeting. And here you and I are having this conversation. We don't know each other from Adam and Eve. So your voice is very, very powerful.
Exactly. Don't underestimate the little guy. No superpowers over here. Just a regular, everyday, average human being trying to just make the world a better place. That's my biggest goal. I'm always praying for world peace. So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to in the future. Is just a peaceful place for my daughter.
What we have is something golden, which is why I started Elevate PGC, because I saw that there were gaps. It's not that we're not doing good. It's just that we could do a lot better. There's a lot of missed opportunity here. I was leaving the Woodmore Shopping Center. It was a Tuesday afternoon. There was a gentleman driving a Rolls Royce, and he was pulling up to a Starbucks. And first of all, how amazing is it to see a Black man on a random Tuesday afternoon pull in your Rolls Royce? Like, kudos to you. But the next thought was, not with these potholes. The county can do, better. If we don't speak up, people will make decisions for us.
My biggest hope is that we will continue to come together in these meetings and continue to promote effective and positive development inside the Beltway. I think that it's important that we stay united because we're stronger that way. Even if you have if you're pro data center, I'm not against you. I just feel that, we have a different opinions. You can still come to the meeting. You can still make your voice heard. Let us know why you think that should be there, because we need both sides. And it's always about bipartisanship. That's going to make us stronger when we have the ability to say, when we spoke with people who wanted data centers and we were able to change their minds, or we spoke with them and we were able to come to a middle ground. It's very important that we all go into this next phase with the right mindset that we're going to see it through to the finish and we're not going to give up.
Where can people follow you?
Yes, you can follow me on IG at Taylored FM, TAYLORED FM. And you can also follow PSLDC on Instagram for more information. I don't participate in many other social media platforms other than Facebook and Instagram. So that's my socials. And then I'll be sending out a email to all the petition signature signers today, shortly, to invite them to the meeting on September 14th. And you can get a job form there to stay linked in with everything that's going on with the petition. I will be there to be the voice. I will be there to speak out. I'm not backing down on the environment. I'm not backing down on the future of this county or the DMV as a whole. So,
Taylor, thank you for showing us what it means to lead from the ground, being a regular, average, but super mighty, powerful resident of PG County. To everyone who is listening, let this be your invitation, not to just observe, but to really participate, because the future of Prince George's County isn't something that we wait on. It's something that we're going to build. You've been listening to Elevate PGC Podcast. If you want to lend your voice or nominate someone doing real work in our community, please head to elevatepgc.com and get involved. Until next time, stay loud, stay informed, and stay rooted in the purpose. Thank you, Taylor, so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
thank you.